How does equine flu spread between horses?
So flu is mostly spread through air. So when horses cough, there's basically sending out clouds of virus to each other, and that's why it spreads so easily. We hear and talk about it being 25 meters, but in the right conditions, it can really spread further, and they've even reported up to 5 kilometers. It can, though, also spread by what we call fomites, so contact and direct. So your hands, your clothes, tacking equipment. So really simple things will make a big difference with washing your hands. Don't go straight from a sick horse to a healthy one, not sharing buckets, water troughs, etc. And then using disinfectants where you can. But then I think this really brings out one of the most important things about having horses, especially on big yards, is that good biosecurity shouldn't just be for outbreaks. It should be an everyday habit, and having these things and always keeping horses things separate, keeping separate units for different types of horses moving around will really help close an outbreak as and when it arrives into your yard.
What are the signs that your horse has equine influenza?
So I think one of the first really important things to think about is how flu progresses and the profile of it as the horse is exposed to it. So there's what we call an incubation period, which basically means the horse has been exposed, the virus is building up in the body, but they don't yet look obviously sick. So with flu, that happens quite quickly within a couple of days. And actually horses can be spreading the virus before you even realize there's a problem. Usually what we see is a peak around 2 to 3 days, and then most horses will stop shedding virus by about 7 to 10 days. But to be safe, we always say don't mix them back until about 2 weeks after everything's resolved. So in terms of what this looks like, early on, it can be really subtle. They might just be a bit quiet, not eating up properly, just not quite themselves. And then the more obvious signs come in. So a quite harsh cough, which is dry, a runny nose, which can get thicker, and a temperature. So normal temperature should be under 38.5 degrees. So having a thermometer on the yard is honestly one of the most useful things and often the first sign. And it's worth saying as well that unvaccinated horses can tend to get this much worse. And we can see secondary infections up to pneumonia. And it's not something to take lightly. The cough can then persist, and it can really then be quite performance limiting.
What should we do if we suspect our horses have flu?
So if you are worried your horse might have flu, the absolute first thing is to isolate them. And I mean, properly isolate, keep them well away from other horses, no nose-to-nose contact, shared airspace, and a field apart, ideally, if you can, and have that possibility to throw them out. There's no crossing over of people, of staff, hacking out, buckets, all that sort of thing. Because by the time you are noticing signs, they've probably already been infectious for a little while. And then call your vet. So then they'll come in, assess them. Respiratory diseases can all look quite similar in the beginning, such as strangles and herpes, but they can have very different implications. So the vet can then take samples where needed, and those results are usually pretty quick. And they are the same day or next day, and they can then generally just be treated medically on the yard with some anti-inflammatories and TLC.
If an outbreak is confirmed, what process should you follow?
So I think the point here is the isolation and the stopping or moving of horses on and off the yard until you really understand what the risk assessment is. So thinking about the in-contacts of the horses that you know about, separating them into groups, so infected, exposed and healthy. So ones that are already starting to cough or have a bit of a temperature that you can say, right, that is that one group. Then there's the exposed group that you know may have been in contact but showing no clinical signs, and then healthy ones that are completely separate. So excuse me, keeping those separate will really reduce the shedding and the spread of this disease. Taking their temperatures, as I've said, is the first one here, and it will show you what is happening and if there's anything starting to come. We often get asked about vaccinating in the face of an outbreak, and especially if any horses have not been vaccinated within the last 6 months or an unknown vaccination status. For any at risk but no clinical signs horses, this will really reduce the risk of it spreading and clinical disease, obviously, in those cases.